let's talk about sampling. Now, this is the backbone of modern music, and we're going through a journey of 10 levels of sampling, from the simplest drag and drop to advanced sound design that will completely transform your tracks. And I'll show you a few tools that we can use as our creative engine for this entire process, including LANDR's own sampler. Level 1, the direct drop. Now, this is the simplest form of sampling. It's the foundation. It's about finding that one perfect sound and placing it exactly where it needs to be. Think FX risers, a single vocal chant, or maybe like a crash cymbal. So for this, pretty much all you have to do is find a sound that you like, or a loop or a sample, and just drag it and drop it into your project. There's really no fuss about it. This is pretty much going to be as easy as it gets. You'll want to use your ears to add texture, transitions, hits, stabs, whatever it is that you want to put into your beat, and it's pretty much something that anybody can do. Level 2, layering. Now, this is where we start building on our track. So layering is taking two or more similar sounds, or even opposing sounds, so long as they're complementary to each other, and you combine them to create a single, bigger, more unique sound. One of the main ways that I implement this is to mix and match different kicks or snares or claps. I love to do it with my drums, so let's try it out. We have a nice, like, kind of subby-ish kick here, and one that's got a little bit more like, it's like a tambourine with it. But if we layer it together, it's a pretty punchy kick. That's one snare. That's a clap. Layer it together. Much more full, right? I want to do like the little step here. So do you see what I mean? Like, the first kick had the punch, that click, and the second one had that subby weight to it. So together they become one new kick drum that's better than either one was alone. This technique is key for creating drums that hit hard, or instrumentation that has way more depth and intrigue. Now on to level 3, the chop. Now we get into classic beat making. Chopping is taking a loop, whether it's drums, melodies, anything, and cutting it up to create a totally unique pattern. This is actually something I did a while ago on a beat I was working on called Legendary, you know, where I took this drum loop, and even though the loop itself was already dope, I figured there was probably thousands of other people using this same loop exactly as it was. So why not make it my own? So basically, I chopped up sections of the loop and rearranged the beat so it was unique to me. Now, at the time, I did this all manually in Logic Pro, and it was pretty time consuming. This is where your sampler's slice mode comes into play. Now, for this example, LANDR Sampler automatically chops the loops and maps each slice to a key on your MIDI controller. It's that classic ASR 10 MPC workflow, but it's incredibly fast. You can immediately deconstruct any loop and turn it into your own custom performance. And this is the level where you stop being a consumer of loops and you start becoming an architect of rhythm. You liked that, didn't you? Level 4, pitch and time. Now, what if you want to turn a single sound into an entire instrument? So that's what we call pitch shifting. It's here where we can make a sample melodic so that we can play it on our keyboard, for instance, but pads work too if that's, you know, your flavor, if that's what you want to do. Sampler's chromatic mode makes this ridiculously easy. So what you do is you feed it one sound, maybe a vocal hit, a bass plug, anything, and it instantly maps it across your keyboard in key. So we have this little pluck here, a singular pluck. We just hit this chromatic button. All from that tonal one shot that was loaded into our sample. Next, we move to level 5, slice to MIDI. Now this combines the last two levels, so we chop a loop, but instead of just rearranging the rhythm, we treat the slices themselves as a playable kit. This is the slice to MIDI concept. So here's where you have total control to edit every note, change the velocity, you can quantize it, you can choose to slice individual kicks, snares, hats, stabs, whatever the loop contains, you can choose to cut out whichever part that you want. And it is time stretched, so it does sound a little bit morphed, but if we go here to our slicer, we have the kicks, the snares, everything kind of chopped up because of the transients. So we can do something like... Now let's move on to level 6, which is the combo. So now that we've got our fundamentals out the way, we know how to arrange, we know how to layer and perform these samples, but now we want to move on to sound design territory. Now, I know that sounds scary, at least it did for me, but the next levels are fundamentally about performing the audio itself. This is where things get really customizable, where we synthesize our skills. So if we were to mix all this together, I have here a tonal sample that I can mess around with. And there's one note here that I can actually change the pitch to. So I'm taking one idea, I'm chopping it up, and then repitching those individual slices to create a new melody all in and of itself. This is how modern vocal chops are made. You're combining rhythm and pitch manipulation to create something that could never have been performed live. Now on to level 7. Changing the sample. So now is where we start mangling. This level is about using effects to manipulate the sample into something new. So Sampler actually has a built-in FX section with an XY pad that's perfect for this. You can experiment with whatever effects you want to morph your sound. There is no right or wrong. This is all about experimenting to see what you can create, how you can create it. Just go crazy, okay? So if we want to customize this a little bit, I actually went ahead and threw on a flanger. And I also threw on this random fan waves plugin. So by performing these effects, I'm creating movement, I'm creating texture and grit that becomes a part of the sound itself. So twisting the sample's DNA. This is your first real step into sound design. So it's not as hard as it seems, right? Next, level 8, the external FX chain. So we use the sampler to generate the core idea, and then we just go crazy. This is where you bring your entire arsenal of plugins to take the sound to a professional, finished place. So the sampler is kind of like your spark, and your effects chain is the fire. We're lighting the match, right? So luckily for us, Sampler actually has an FX chain built in, but you can use whatever plugins you like to get the results that you want. Next is level 9, single cycle waveforms. Now this is where things get a little theoretical, but it's crucial. So if you zoom into any audio file far enough, you get a single repeating wave pattern. That's a single cycle waveform, the building block of a synthesizer. So producers can extract these tiny loops to create oscillators for their own custom synths. And you can actually do this with LANDR Sampler. It's the ultimate tool for finding the perfect sound to be the source material and then even building something completely new to you by taking a very tiny fraction of that sound and making a bass or some kind of pluck sound. Whatever it is that you want to do, you're creating something from the DNA of that sample. This is what the full sample sounds like. But we're gonna zoom way in here and we're gonna sample and loop just this section right here. So when we do that, we have sort of like a nice little bass instrument that we have here. We can go back to our effects and make it sound even more like one of those basses that we would use in another sample pack. Oh! designing our own sounds. I never thought I would be doing this. Finally, we have level 10, resynthesis and granular. This right here is the final frontier, okay? Advanced synths can listen to a sample and completely rebuild it as a new editable synthesizer, or they can break it down into tiny grains to create massive evolving pads and textures. So here's a Sufjan Stevens sample that I made way back in 2010. Came down. So I'll load that into here, and here is what we have just from it being loaded into this granular synth. Now, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes this does take a little bit more work to dial in because it is so surgical, but I just wanna show you what's possible when you're experimenting with the music that you're making. So as you saw, a tool like LANDR Sampler can be the engine for almost all of this. It's your idea generator, your performance tool, and the starting point for even the most advanced techniques. And if you do wanna get started sampling today, trying out different things and making your own sounds, LANDR Sampler is available via the LANDR Studio subscription or as a perpetual license if you want to try it out for yourself. But let us know in the comments, which level do you think you're on?